The Miami Heat last year put on one of the greatest playoff performances we have seen in a very long time from a team perspective, and really just defied the odds in every single way, shape, or form, to the dismay of a lot of teams like the Bucks and the Knicks, like playoff run hopes that they had. And unfortunately for them, and fortunately for Miami Heat fans, I think they are setting themselves up to do the exact same thing once again, and yet nobody is talking about it because everybody's kind of caught up in the Boston Celtics, how good they are, and rightfully so, or the Denver Nuggets and how good they are, and really focusing on those top two seeds. But I think a lot of people are starting to really overlook the Miami Heat, and as we have seen time and time again in the past, or the very, very, very near past that we just had to go through, Miami Heat loves to be the underdogs. They love to be the overlooked team, and I think that is exactly the situation they are finding themselves in once again, and we all know how this story could end up ending once again. So I'm getting into every reason why I think the Miami Heat has going in every tool needed to repeat what they did before, and I'm going to be saying how similar the situation they find themselves currently in is the situation they found themselves in just last season. So if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the video all the way through, hit the like button and subscribe button, it means the absolute word to me. And without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. So to really start things off, let's just go and kind of recap what happened last year. Going into last season's playoff, they were going in there as the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they were having to go up against the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks, who had a record of 58-24, and obviously they're led by Giannis, a 2-time MVP, debatably a top 2, maybe even the best player in the NBA at times, and he's just all around an extremely good player, leading an extremely good team who has won a championship in the not so far past. So we all know how good the Milwaukee Bucks are, yet they were able to go on and be the 8th seed, beat that team, and not even was it a close series. Like, you would think an 8th seed, if they were going to beat them, they're going to have to grind it out, 7-game series, extremely close, and that's just not what happened. It was a 5-game series that the Miami Heat won 4-1. Now, yes, I know Giannis missed 2 games with a back injury, but even in the games that he was back in, Giannis, I don't think they won a single game that Giannis did play in, now that I think about it, and that is extremely impressive, and the Miami Heat just really made a statement in that first round. But even despite that statement, I think a lot of people really, even in the second round, were not taking them seriously, and the New York Knicks just came off of their first round against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where they won 4-1 as well, and they looked dominant in that series, by the way. Like, the New York Knicks just destroyed the Cleveland Cavaliers in their first round. So everyone, they're the hot team. Obviously, everyone wants the New York Knicks over the Miami Heat to win. They're the big market team. Everybody was rooting for them, and what happened? The Miami Heat come out and beat them in 6 games. The Miami Heat were in full throttle at this point, and a lot of people were taking them extremely seriously, and they just upset back-to-back teams. And then you go even further, and you look at the Eastern Conference Finals matchup they found themselves off against the Boston Celtics, who were the 2 seed at the time. Now, even here, despite seeing how good Miami did, despite them upsetting the Milwaukee Bucks, and despite them pretty handily beating the New York Knicks as well, they found themselves in a situation, once again, being the heavy underdogs going against the 2nd seeded Boston Celtics. And despite them being such heavy underdogs, all the odds stacked against them, they went out and got up to a 3-1 lead through the first 4 games of that series, looking like they were about to make it to the finals in absolutely dominant fashion. Now, unfortunately for them, they slipped up 2 games in a row, and they went back to 3-3, and going into Game 7, everybody had flipped once again back to Boston's side, like, oh, they're going to win it, they're going to be the first team to come back from down 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, or 3-0, yada, 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 and that did not happen, and they ended up blowing out the Boston Celtics in Game 7, showing just how resilient they are. They managed to go up 3-0, let them go into force a Game 7, and still managed to blow that team out despite being the lesser talented team, in my opinion. And despite all the odds and all the pressure really being on them, they still came out and performed at an extremely high level, and they were once again able to beat the odds. They weren't able to be stopped until they made it to the NBA Finals, where they faced the Nuggets, where unfortunately for them, they did lose in 5 games. But to make it even more impressive, they did all that with Tyler Hero being injured for that entire playoff run, by the way, and they were the first 8th seed to make it to the NBA Finals since the New York Knicks did it in 1999, and they were the only 2 teams to ever do it, to show you how impressive what the Miami Heat were able to accomplish. And it's just one of the most rare things we'll ever see, an 8th seed making it all the way to the finals, especially in the fashion they did it, where they knocked off the 1 and the 2 seed, and even the 5th seed, who is 3 seeds higher than them and was very hot going into that series. So they really just put together one of the most impressive playoff runs you will ever see a team be able to accomplish. They just weren't able to finish finish it off and win the finals. And I mean, at that point, talent matters, and they just got completely out-talented in that series. But even then, they competed, and they had a lot of chances to make it an even closer series than it was. The Denver Nuggets are just a very well-coached, very talented team, and overall, the talent just kind of took over. But now you kind of go into today's situation they currently find themselves in. Let's take a look at it. As of right now, they are the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they are practically in the exact same situation record-wise that they were at this point last year. And by the time this season ends, they will probably find themselves as around the 8th or 7th seed in the play-in game, fighting for that, probably will end up making it, and they will probably end up being the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference with a very similar record to what they had just last season. And by doing that, they're going to be getting a first-round matchup. If the playoffs started today, they would be playing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. Now, after what we saw the Cavaliers do last year in the playoffs, that's probably a very good draw for them, and probably the worst draw for the Cleveland Cavaliers, because now you're getting a very gritty, very good, very high-level, highly great coach team in the Miami Heat in the first round, and they could legitimately upset the Cleveland Cavaliers pretty easily, I would imagine, if they got that matchup, and then no telling where they could do from there, who they would play next. And once the Miami Heat team gets confidence, once they're in the playoffs, this team, it goes to a whole new level. We've seen it for years at this point, and I think for sure no team wants to play them, and I think a lot of people are starting to overlook them, and like we've seen in the past, that is a situation that greatly benefits how the Miami Heat think and their culture, and it just plays directly into what the Miami Heat want to be, and that is the underdogs, gritting and grinding, people not taking them fully seriously. And then, even on top of all that, besides them being in the exact same situation as they were last year, besides them really people playing right into their hand and how they want people to perceive them, they debatably, and in my opinion, not even debatably, have a better roster than they did last year overall. No, they didn't add anything crazy or anything. I don't think they're going to be immensely more talented than they were last year, but I do think they have a better roster, which could go a very long way and is very impressive, seeing that this team made the finals last year, as they just traded for Terry Rozier, who is a very good point guard. He can score 20 points per game with ease. He can catch fire. He will probably end up winning them a few games. He is a very, very good player, and I just think he really fits with his culture, kind of grit and grind, kind of an edge, chip on the shoulder type guy, and he just fits them perfectly. Then they obviously drafted Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's been one of the best rookies in the entire league this year. His hustle is insane. He's great on defense. He knows how to play the right way, and he's just a perfect fit for this Miami Heat culture, and he can also score when he needs to. And then also they added Josh Richardson off their bench. Now, Josh Richardson is not a great player. He's not an excellent player by any means, but he's a good player, and he's a guy that's going to really add depth to this team and really is going to help them with a veteran presence in this team. He's been on the team before in the past. He knows the system. He knows their culture, and he willingly re-signed with them. So we know he must like it there, and that the Miami Heat also like him. So we know he's going to be able to perform when they ask him to and do what they ask him to do when it comes to playoff time. So with them being more talented, with them being in the exact same situation they were in before, and with teams probably not taking them as seriously as they would take other higher seeded teams, I think the Miami Heat are in a perfect position to really repeat what they did last year. Now, maybe not make the finals, but I think they're legitimately going to be a second round, maybe even conference finals team when it is all said and done, because of how good the culture is, how good they're coached, and how good they play when the playoffs do come around for year in and year out for years at this point. But unfortunately, guys, that's more for this video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think the Miami Heat are going to be able to repeat what they did last year? What do you think is different from this situation than it was last year? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like, point to like button, subscribe, and me up, supporting me, and I hope you have a blessed day, because I had a blessed day, so you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah, blah.